All right, so our next video by LilliePie101, a very, very interesting content creator, because as we've reviewed, this is our third video we've watched of theirs. Very, very interesting content creator, mostly coming from the Survivor side of things with a little bit of killer experience. Has some really, really good takes and really, really bad takes at the same time, which is always why I enjoy watching her videos very thoroughly, because like some things I'm like, heck yeah, fix that, do that, implement that into the game tomorrow. And sometimes she's like, hey, did you know that killers breathing is like toxic and we should just remove the killer's ability to walk? And I'm just like, such good ideas. Where did that come from? So she's a very dynamic, I think that's the word, dynamic creator when it comes to her takes. So I really like her perspectives for that reason, because they are so dynamic. This video in specific is talking about, should the DC penalty be removed from Dead by Daylight, which is something that I've recently kind of had a change of heart about myself. So yeah, I really like, I really want to see her takes on this. Also, I just posted the link in the chat. Also, the link will be down in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. Please go support the official release of the video. The content provided here is not ours. It's been provided by someone else. So you should like and subscribe to this person to support the video, to support the official release, because if you don't, you're kind of a jerk, and I don't like jerks, so yeah.
Lately, people have been DCing more, specifically survivors. But why? Personally, I've noticed a trend of survivors DCing early in games, and simply put, it does ruin games, especially for the other survivers. We already
also, I want to say this. Because I got reminded of it because of what you said, Red. I've been doing the React thing for a little while now, for a few months, and I did not see as much vitriol towards any creator's opinions than I saw hers. Like, and I don't mean like you're allowed to disagree with her. You're allowed to think all her takes are bad. I think a lot of her takes are bad. A lot of her takes are really great. A lot of her takes are really bad. I'm somebody that disagrees with her often on things. I also agree with things often on things, but there's some things that I think are really, really awful ideas that she puts out there. That's okay. You're allowed to disagree with people. The last video I put out of hers, some of you in the comments were way above, way just out of pocket. Way out of pocket. Like, cruel to a needless extent. It's just a game, and I don't know what your beef is with this person, but you take it too far a lot. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. I have watched her streams, I have watched her videos. I have not seen anything from her that would ever indicate that she would be worthy of that level of disdain and frustration from people, that you're going to make it that personal and personally, like, tear her down and insult her. If you're going to do that, click off the video. Like, right now. Right now. Like, if you're going to do that, like, you're not welcome here. Like, get off of my channel. Whether this be you're watching on Twitch, you're watching on YouTube, get off of my channel. That's not going to stand. Do not do that. This is just a game at the end of the day. Nothing is worth that level of cruelty. Just saying. Coming here, yeah, we've actually faced her before, once or twice. And she's always been a good sport and very nice about it. Even in app, there's plenty of reason not to be.
Survivor out early on and forcing the game to be a 3v1 essentially makes the comeback for the other survivors impossible. So when a survivor DCs early or goes on next, it does exactly the same. It's also a huge issue. I did a poll on Twitter on whether or not the DC penalty should be removed, a simple yes or no, or their own option in mind. The poll results were almost a tie, but overall it leaned towards no.
We're really split on this. Because there's essentially two camps of thought that this goes into. The first camp is oh, well, you signed a social contract when you readied up for a DBD game, so you should follow it through. Because if you don't, you're ruining the fun of other people, so you have to stay to ensure those other people have the maximum amount of fun possible. The other camp is that things in the game, whether they be glitches, unbalanced metas, unbalanced maps, can be incredibly unfun and not worth playing. So what they do is they leave. They leave. And in a way, it's kind of like a sign of something being bad or terrible that should probably be adjusted that people don't want to deal with. So it's kind of like the two camps.
I can agree to as well. A lot of people agree that Survivor has been rough since 6.1, of course, but I think it's a wide variety of reasons when I really think about it. And keep in mind, this video is more about on-purpose DCs, so this excludes game crashes, net issues, or bugs like the disconnection from host error.
Yeah.
Very early on, if survivors notice multiple gen perks or even hints at multiple gen perks, they are very quick to give up. Such as survivors seeing killers stop mid-chase to kick gens and getting incapacitated, seeing
which is gone, thankfully.
Pain res, dead man switch, and more. The start of the game is very strong for survivors, I'd say, but typically with multiple gen perks, games can drag out when you're holding M1 constantly, and seeing your gen go from progress to 0 over and over again is really frustrating.
Well, thanks for the game.
Accessibility is also a huge issue, considering the large player base of Dead by Daylight, believe it or not. A while back, there was another Twitter post that I made pertaining to this where a lot of people came forward about the issues with it in DBD.
Yeah, Amanda Zara? Wonderful, wonderful content creator. Wonderful content creator, so I'm going to plug her real quick. She's not streaming right now. She is on a short vacation. But she is a wonderful person, mostly plays Survivor. Well, only plays Survivor. I don't remember last time she played Gaylor. Very wonderful content creator. Lovely person. Somebody I'm lucky enough to call her friend. She can't play against Plague. She has a phobia of vomiting. She literally can't play against Plague. And she can't just DC out of the match. So she literally, she just, she tries to stay away from her, and then at a certain point she just gives up. Right? But, it would be nice if she could just, DC out of the matches. See, this is what I was talking about earlier. That second camp. It's there's a lot of issues in the game that are very, awful to deal with. That people should, the idea is, you should be able to just go. Right? If an issue in the game is awful, and it literally makes you sick, for example with this, it literally makes you sick, you should be able to just DC, But, this is on behavior side, because they haven't implemented, something to deal with this. They haven't implemented, a phobia-friendly mode. Or, for example, like you said with Clown, some people, the Clown bottle gases, the way it distorts the screen, even with the crosshair, makes them motion sick. It makes them nauseous. Do you just, what are you supposed to do there, right? You were essentially forced to be sick. It's not and this is something I relate to, because on Nurse makes me really, really motion sick, right? I can't play Nurse without Shadowborn, period, and I can't play her for more than a match or two, even while using Shadowborn, because she just makes me motion sick. But the difference being that I can just decide to not play Nurse if I don't want to be motion sick. If I get into a match of Survivor, I may just get motion sick against Clown and nauseous, or I might just, get actually sick with, the phobia example with Plague, And I don't have a choice. And it's just, it's just little stuff like that. And you can, expand that to, very, very unfun things to face and stuff like that. But even but just keeping it to, that little serious box, it's why do you just have to deal with that? Why do you just have to deal with that? I don't think you should have to.
Flashlights were changed for that purpose due to the flickering of the lights, which is also an issue on several other maps such as Larry's or Haddonfield. These can trigger migraines and epilepsy, and I personally have friends and viewers who are affected by these. There are also several phobias such as chlorophobia, the fear of clowns, and emetophobia, the fear of vomit that affect people.
Yep, that's what it's
Some
called.
people also
I don't remember what it was.
have issues such as misophonia or autism as well. The percentage of these players may be on the smaller scale, but if Dead by Daylight has taken steps towards other accessibility issues, maybe these are a few that can be looked at too, considering people with these issues deserve to play games as well.
Yeah. There are mean people out there who would literally be like, oh, you shouldn't ready up for, just don't play Dead by Daylight then. It's you're telling someone to not play Survivor because they might run into 2 out of 30 killers? You're saying just don't play the video game when 28 out of 30 killers don't have issues? Come on. You're being a hard ass. You're being cringe. Do you think because you're a crybaby, it was too good and can't take the L? Why does that matter? I think that's my question. Why does that matter? Right? I think it's my question. Why does it matter? Because I'll ask that question right now. Because people DC in my killer games, and I'm just okay, that was a mature way to handle that. And then I move on with my day. Where does that irritation come from? To me, I'm oh, okay, well, that was kind of cringy, but now I have an easy match. Where does that irritation come from? Why does that make people mad? Yeah, I'm still asking the question, though. Unless you answered that directly. DC's more Survivor? Yeah, I agree. But this is a sentiment that often comes from the killer perspective, and it's something I've never understood as somebody who gets DCs in my killer games all the time. I'm like, okay, I have an easier match now, and that was kind of immature, but I'm over it in like 2 seconds, right? I don't know where that vitriol comes from, like hating a DC as killer. It's very odd to me. Like, I don't get. I've never felt that way, and I don't get it. I've never gotten it. You're right. It's way more depressing in Survivor, but even then, it's like the match that usually ensues is not very long, and you just get into the next match right away, right? You know, like I don't know. This is something I've truly mellowed out on this. I used to be like, this is I was alluding to at the beginning of the beginning of the video, is that like I used to be hard. I used to be hard for the DC penalty. I would be the last person dying on that hill for the DC penalty back in the day. But like nowadays, it's just like it really doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, it's definitely annoying, Potato, but, like, why does it matter? Can you really not handle being annoyed for, like, one match? What made you switch sides? I just mellowed out. I just stopped taking, like, I think when I first started making content on YouTube, I was a very, very, like, emotionally upset killer main, right? Like, I was just, like, a very intense killer main. And very, very biased. So that was kind of like what drove my opinions about the game. And now that I just kind of like, if I win, I win. I lose, I lose, you know. Way less things irritate me in general about the game. I have a much better, healthier mindset about the video game. It's like I realize it doesn't really affect too much. Like, who cares if one match is ruined because of a DC? Yeah, it's irritating in the moment, but like, why do you hold on to that way after the match is over? Why do you hold on to that for so long? I just don't get it. Because I don't. Like, it makes me mad in the moment. I'm not saying it doesn't make me mad. It definitely makes me mad in the moment. But, like, why do you hang on to it for so long after the match? I just don't get that. I've never understood that. I'm not trying to say that to, like, take a side or anything. Like, I legitimately don't get it. I legitimately don't get it. I don't get where, like, I had 8 DCs to prevent your challenge? This is very highly implausible. What challenge were you doing that you had 8 DCs, 8 intentional DCs to cuck you? Because that is not common. That is not even remotely common. Not even remotely common. I get like 2 DCs a day, and you had 8 trying to do one challenge? How? First home, what was it? No, don't tell me first home. What was 4 kills in basement? You had 8 DCs. Dude, people run basement builds all the time. You had 8 DCs? Dude, I have like 2 DCs a day. If that. That is bizarre.
And most plainly put, some people just don't like some maps, killers, or other survivors, funnily enough. Some people go down first, or some people get tunneled very early on. These things just happen. However, DVD has been working towards balancing the game in these aspects, such as the huge map overhaul from 2020's mid-chapter 15, major kill overhauls from 2021 of powers and add-ons, most notably Trapper and Spirit, base kit BT, and some are still a work in progress, like potential base kit Unbreakable to diminish the frustrations of slugging.
I don't think slugging's bad. I think slugging's fine.
The general reasoning is that some survivors find the games to be purely unwinnable. Now that we've discussed some of the major reasonings, let's talk about some of the solutions. One of the easier ones would be reducing the number of gens, especially early on, like in KYF, which if you didn't know, allows the players to have a reduced number of gens if there aren't enough players at the very
start. You just gotta be careful about that, because when you do that people will DC on purpose for tactical reasons, and you don't really want to do that. If you DC for hatch, it's like whatever. You got a 3K anyway. Like, you already won the match, right? But you don't want to give people the ability to, like, delete the ability to do a gen or like, required generator by doing that, because they might abuse that.
Gen speed and or action speeds could be increased, maybe with specific percentages depending on early to late DCs.
Yeah, you got.
Or the number of DCs.
I don't think this is the way to go.
Another alternative since DVD has already implemented.
Bots makes more sense to me. But the problem with, like, bots out of all of these suggestions makes the most sense to me, because the bots are not completely stupid if you've played the bot matches. The problem being that, like, the problem here with this is that you could, like, farm people for, like, skirt trick value, because bots will never be as good as a normal chaser. They just won't. Right? And they may waste resources and all that stuff, but, like, a bot that's easy to chase down. Like they can just like farm scourge hooks off of them, essentially, which is
in lieu of human players,
worrisome.
Which are surprisingly not that bad. With a few more tweaks, I can see these being.
But that's the same thing I'm talking about, Huffpuff. Like on the flip side, we're talking about the DC situation with like the slugging situation. You have one match where where like the guy slugs for the 4K and goes and searches around the map for someone. Yeah, it's annoying, but like that's like one match. I don't know. This is a video I'm gonna make, so I don't know if how that'll be out by now or probably coming out after. It's like I don't see inherently things that irritate me as things that automatically need balance changes, and I feel like that's a mentality that, not saying that you do, but a lot of the mentality a lot of the community has is if I have balance, if something irritates me, it clearly needs to be balanced. Perfect example is like saboing. Sabotaging hooks is literally the survivors going out of their way to prevent me from getting a hook. It is irritating. Regardless of how you feel, if it's fun or it's not fun, it's irritating to face this killer because they're quite literally stopping you from playing the video game. Right? Like that is my plan is to stop you from having fun, right? But it's irritating, right? But like I would never be like, well, yeah, Sabo needs to be removed from the game because it pisses me off. Like, but I feel like a lot of DBD players have that mentality. Like, just stop taking everything so to heart. Like, relax, man. What if the killer DCs? Doesn't that matter even less if the killer DCs? Because that doesn't affect anybody. That just cuts the match short or you just re-queue. That affects things even less.
Viable in public games. A surrender option for the survivors as a whole would be neat as well, so it doesn't disproportionately affect the team if the majority...
This is a thing in a lot of games. Having a give-up option, like if somebody DCs early, this is a thing in a lot of games. I'm surprised DBD doesn't have this.
To surrender. Acting as if a player DC'd mid-loading screen and simply return items, add-ons, offerings back to all players at no consequence. This one is a little more complicated, but backfill could be an interesting option if a DC occurs early enough in games. And queuing for
backfill would be interesting too.
BP or shards is an incentive, which would...
Yeah, if you could turn on a switch that says I want to be part of backfill, just like how you can turn off crossplay, you could like turn on crossplay for more people. Like you can turn on backfill as well and get it a BP, even because they have BP incentives and they work. Why not have add a BP incentive to like backfilling? Do that, yeah.
It would be interesting. Perhaps if somebody DCs early on, there could be no penalty for others going next. Adding a quitter bonus for all and not just killer could even be beneficial to make up for items, add-ons, and offerings lost too.
True, quitter bonus would work too.
There are also some other interesting ones that I saw in the thread as well.
I do appreciate that this video is more focused towards how do we make DCing not suck as much and not just like arguing about whether there should be a DC penalty or not, right? Like this is like actually like super constructive. This is actually like trying to like, you know, come up with solutions that would make DCing less painful for the team that's left behind, which is really constructive.
Personally, I don't like DCs or survivors going next on either side, whether I'm playing survivor or killer, because it really does ruin games. I do understand it at times, and I kind of get annoyed by it though. But I do think mediating the effects of it is something...
Am I just too boring now? Am I too mellow? Like, I just don't care. Like I said, I get mad in the moment, but then I move on. And I have never, like, it's just... I'm living my piece a little too hard, right? Living my piece a little too hard. I'm just like, whatever.
Control more so than stopping it or punishing it further. This was much more of a simple video, but let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
You keep telling me no. For what? Oh, because you wanted to tunnel for a Mori. Wow.
Bye. Okay. Yeah, am I just too mellow? Am I the weird one? I just don't care. I just don't care. Like, whatever, man. It's just like... I feel like if you get so tilted and bent out of shape about one match at DBD, brother, you need to work on yourself. Like, I think that's a you problem, right? Like, my issue why I used to get so mad at it is because I was a jaded, whiny little killer main who wanted everything to go my way, right? No survivors need to stay in the match so I can get my 4K. I've been there. I felt that way. But that's because I was a jaded little whiny bitch. Not to be awful to myself, not to be mean to myself, but I was a jaded, whiny little bitch. Like, I really was a little crybaby. And I will fully admit that. I was biased and I was whiny. But that was something I needed to work on. And now I worked on that and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Who cares? Who cares if somebody DCs? Whatever. You know? That's growth. If you're getting that bent out of shape on a one match at DBD, I would look at yourself. I would look at yourself. I'd be like, what's going on in my head that's making me so angry about this? What is making me so tilted? What's making me so upset about this? And look at yourself. Yeah, I just don't get that. If people get too into this game, and this is coming from somebody who literally makes daily upload videos for this video game. How are you getting this bent out of shape and this invested over singular matches at DBD when, like, if I'm not, right? Like, if there's trends and stuff that I generally see being upsetting or worrisome, that's where I get upset. Not one match of Dead by Daylight. Not one match. Like I said, I get a DC penalty. Or not a DC penalty, but I get DCs in my matches like twice a day. Both Killer and Survivor. I get like a DC like twice a day, if that. So you're telling me out of a 5 to 6 hour play session, 2 DCs is where you're like, guys, we gotta enforce the social contract of playing the video game. Like, that's like, let's see, 6 matches, 6 24. That's 2 out of 24 matches on average. Or let's do 25. Let's just make it an even 25. Like 2 out of 25 matches a day you get DCs in and you're like, I'm gonna explode. It's like, brother, you played 23 matches without a DC. Like, you had 23 non-DC matches. Why did the 2 stick out to you? Like, why? That's so weird to me. See, like a club kicking out problematic vendors that are ruining the experience for other people. You bought the game, so you should be able to do it. I agree that you bought a license to play the game, but not a the game, but the devs want people to not ruin matches. That's their choice. I mean, like, I'm definitely of, like, the former part of what you said, not the latter. Like, you bought the game, you do what you want, man. Like, if you serially DC, you're gonna end up with a big penalty and not even in my matches anyway. Right? Like, people want to make the DC penalty worse as it is, right? I think the DC penalty is fine. Like, if you have Plague or a Clown that make you sick, you have a 1-minute DC penalty, right? I still think they should do something about that accessibility-wise. But if you have something like that, you have your minute DC. And then you're good, right? But, like, these people that want you to just, like, never DC are just so unreasonable. So unreasonable and emotionally immature. Emotionally immature. Brother, nobody gives a shit about Dead by Daylight. Nobody gives a... Like, literally, like, brother, if you're here, like, you signed a social contract, you gotta play the video game. Like, you're a fucking weirdo. I'll say it. You're weird. You're cringe. Like, you're, like, this is an asymmetrical party game. Why are you out here like, please stay in the game so I can win? It's life or death. Like, what the f is wrong with you? Go outside. Literally go touch some grass. You're weird. I would feel this way about, like, an esport. Like, if it was if this was, like, ranked, like, this was a ranked mode that was grinding for the sake of, like, improving at the game so I could go compete, like, I would agree. I'd be like, yeah. But, like, this is an asym party game with some comp elements. Some. Why are you this tilted? After 1 hour you come back to the pill? Yeah. That's 1 hour. That's 4 or 5 matches that go by without that person around. You say that like, oh, well, after an hour, it's fine. They just get to join right back. That's 4 or 5 matches they're not a part of. And then if they DC again, it's even longer. Like, you're not cool with the DC or having to sit out 4 to 5 matches straight? That's a big punishment, man. You say that like, oh, well, that's just an hour. Like, that's a lot of matches that go by. That's a lot of matches that can be played. I think there's a fundamental disconnect in my brain between other people because there's kind of like this implication that if you DC, you're a whiny bad person inherently, and I think that's where I have the disconnect. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's where I have the disconnect. I don't assume somebody that DCs is a bad or whiny person inherently, but everybody else seems to. And I think that's where the disconnect is in my head. Because, like, the idea, because that's the retort. It's like, well, we need to punish them. We need to punish them. I don't feel that. Because I'm like, I don't know what's going on over there on their end of things. Could they be whiny and entitled? Yeah, sure. Could just be having a bad day. Could have a phobia that I don't know about. I don't make assumptions. I don't assume about their character as a person because they DC a lot. And I think that's, like, I feel like a lot of people are like, well, they must be inherently shitty people if they DC, right? Frequently. If they frequently DC, they must inherently be bad people. And that's just not true, man. And if you can't handle that, I got bad news. You may not be the most, like, aware person. You may not be aware. I don't know. I think it's like, I think there's like I said, an emotionally underlying. Yeah, people used to DC less back then. There's a lot less to DC about. Like a lot of the killers, like Clown and Plague, weren't around. Also, the meta was not as obnoxious. Maps were strong, but people didn't know how to use them. So like the game was a less sweaty experience, and there was less of the more like physical reasons for people or sensory reasons for people to leave the game. Right? Those are kind of like the two main things. I have a DC 3 times twice because I wanted to play a short game that was going 30 minutes. No, you're a bad person because you DC'd from that match hop up. You're an entitled survivor for not wanting a 30-minute match. Brother, like, stop judging people behind the screen based off of what they do in a game. Like, stop being a weirdo. Stop. So weird. So a lot to be applied to cheaters? Yeah. Not everybody who cheats is a bad person. But cheating is, like... Cheating is a... definitely... very morally wrong at its base, right? Like, I am going to use this thing as an advantage to win, right? I think an unfair advantage to win is a little different than leaving a video game, right? That's not really the same thing. Yeah, nice try, but no, incorrect. Nice try, good attempt. No, they pay. No, they're doing things that are outside the game's ability. Potato. Yeah, good try. Good try. Good try. Good try. Good try. But no. Yeah, like what? They're doing. You paid for the game, but you're doing things that are outside the game's capabilities to win. Or to generally disrupt people. Yeah, that's not the same thing. If you can't handle a DC for Atch without frothing at the mouth, the problem's with you, not the game, fam. 4K, I'm not okay, exactly. She brought that up in a previous video. 4K or I'm not okay. Like, brother, it's not that big of a deal. It barely happens. It's not that big of a deal, and it barely happens. Like, bro, who cares? Go to Super Smash or Overwatch? Yeah, something that has more inherent, like, design for that sort of thing, right? The way people get so just... Like, I feel like... See, I'm on the flip side. I feel like that's entitled. I feel like that's entitled, right? Like, on the flip end of things. I feel like it's entitled if you want all these things. I think it's like, brother, game's not that serious at the end of the day. So, yeah. I liked her video. Speaking of the video, we're talking about the video. Yeah, the hatch is already RNG. Yeah, like, the hatch is already RNG. So, like, unless they brought an offering for it and planned to do this ahead of time, like, it's not even a guarantee they're going to even get the hatch, but, brother, my 4K against those entitled survivors. Like, it's just like weirdo behavior, man. Weirdo behavior. But yeah, anyways, video. I think I liked her approach to this. She tried to come up with ways to kind of soothe over the pains of a DC rather than like directly removing or adjusting the DC penalty itself, which I thought was a smart approach. I like more the idea of like, obviously, like, I feel like the backfill idea to me, like giving an incentive and having you have the ability to turn on backfill and have it be optional, but like if you want more blood point incentive, you can turn on backfill. That'd be cool. I think that'd be the best way to fix that, or not even fix it, but make it a little bit better. Because I think that's a really, really cool idea. Also, the surrender idea, I like that. That way they don't have to like DC to deal with it. So yeah, I like those two ideas, and I think that was a good way to handle it. Yeah, great, good video, good ideas. I didn't really hate anything of this besides like giving survivors boosts when somebody DCs, right? Because that's the same thing with the odds video where odds talked about we can buff the survivors if someone gets tunneled out, and it's like people will just abuse that. People can and will abuse these things in the game. We just are in a community of people that love to abuse things, or that's just how it goes. So if you give them the ability to abuse something for an advantage, they just will. So you got to be careful about that stuff. Which is why I like the other suggestions a little more. But yeah, actually a really good video. Actually, basically, there was nothing I really took a huge issue with. There was just some ideas I liked better than others. So yeah, good stuff.